Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Morning, the Rise Up Morning Show.
It's the 17th of November. It's Monday. Will's back.
I'm
I'm drinking coffee out of a Jito branded soup bowl, which is it's the widest mug I've ever owned. Oh, that's a pretty wide one too.
It is. This one's just a Mark Twain one, but the Jito one does make it look like a normal sized mug.
It's beefy.
Yeah, but I also made tea and not coffee this morning because just once you're gone, when you're gone for 2 weeks, and you come back home, you have nothing. You have nothing.
You're in that obnoxious era now where you were just in Japan, and so you have to remind everyone at every chance you get by.
I was just
drinking tea now and
drinking tea. It is green tea. It's green tea with matcha. Fun fact.
Of course it is. On that note, I am curious how. I mean, it's impressive that you're up. I mean, that's an aggressive time change, and I know you just flew back on Saturday.
Yeah, I flew back on Saturday, but I mean, like yesterday when I woke up, it was just hard to get out of bed. Violet, my girlfriend, was like rip roaring ready to go. She had to like drag me out. Then she crashed at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I was rip roaring ready to go. As soon as I landed, I was hitting up my friends to drink because it was Saturday and my body thought it was 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, let's go party. And everyone's like, Will, it's bedtime. I'm like, party. But then today, my body was like, would you like to be awake at 1 o'clock in the morning? I said, no, thank you. And I said, okay, cool, we'll go back to sleep. How about 1:20? How about 3 o'clock in the morning now? You're wide awake. And I was like, all right, cool, great. Tried to go to the gym, couldn't go to the gym. Tried to go to the store to get something I needed for a recipe, couldn't do that. So I started marinating chicken, making rice, doing some stretching. Did a little at-home body workout. My body, I will collapse entirely at about 1:30 this afternoon. I can almost guarantee it.
Well, let's get something out of you before that happens then, because obviously the talk of the town. I don't know if you've noticed since you left, but it's all over.
Yeah, it's all over.
Yeah. So
in fact, why are so happy when all this happened? Comment on TikTok. Oh, because I'm just having a good time, man. Living life, buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana as it goes down.
But yeah. So I added my tiny little snapshot here, and then kick it over to you to see what the hell is actually going on, or whatever we can tell. I added Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana spot ETF positions in my Roth IRA, which is a wild thing to say, but that was awesome. And then I also bought the actual thing, all three of them, 2 different times, at progressively lower lows. So I'm pretty excited about that. And now I'm like looking back and, the extent of my technical analysis, which technical is a strong word for this analysis, was just a note that like in April of this year, Solana just so briefly dipped below $100. And I remember because I bought it. And that's kind of what I was then selling all the way back up to north of 200. And so now I'm kind of thinking like, well, are we going to get it below 100 again? I mean, it kind of feels like it's inevitable at this point.
Solana below 100? Let's see. So I think the odds of that are, what are we at, 141 right now? Yeah, the odds of that are looking pretty solid for Solana below $100 because my morning update video this morning is a very important one, more so than usual, because it's talking about, hey, this is how you can look at current price action and say $95,000, probably not the bottom. Why you can look at $85,000 and say, hey, that's a really likely area for Bitcoin and pretty much the rest of altcoins to start having a bounce. And maybe that could be a bottom. And why, if we get $70,000 to $75,000 Bitcoin, that would be a bottom. So I go over all three. If you're looking to learn, it's great. I think it's a great video. It's about 5 minutes long. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I'm looking at $85,000 being pretty much a guarantee at this point. $85,000, $87,000 right in there. If that happens, Solana probably hits like 124 to 112. But if Bitcoin goes to 70,000, 75,000, you probably see Solana hit about $97 again, probably, which is the last time you and I both bought it below 100.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd do it again too.
And I'd
Don't
do it
tempt me
again.
with a good time.
Yeah, right.
So
Damn it.
the is the Bitcoin, is that level for Bitcoin in the 70s? Because I mean that would be the election, right? And historically we don't break that low, or that sets the new low.
Oh, well, historical trends love being broken since the ETFs
They
came
do.
out.
They do.
They-
And that's
they
kind of what
do.
I'm curious about, because if that trend is broken in particular, I feel like it would shake more confidence than some of the other aspects of the trend that we're seeing break.
Well, another thing too that'd be really interesting is this is getting away from TA and is more talking about like political ramifications, because first of all, the fact that there is any kind of politicization of Bitcoin is stupid, in my opinion, and also in Alex's, and it should be in everyone else's. It shouldn't be a Republican thing, shouldn't be a Democrat thing. It should be an all people thing. But the Republican Party grabbed it and, embraced it more thoroughly right out the gate than the Democrats did, right? And it was not a big part of Trump's campaign, but it was a part of it for sure. And it was big to us because we're, of course, in the industry. But if price of Bitcoin were to fall below when Trump won the election, that is like a real big black eye on a real big promise from that administration. And so like then you have to start asking yourself the question, well, would they allow that, right? Like, are they going to do something to avoid that? Because then it becomes a real, we have midterm elections in November. That becomes a real easy target for opposition to swing at and kind of knock out of the park. And it would also be really damaging for the crypto industry too. So, there's a lot of financial incentive to make sure that doesn't happen from people high up. However, when I look at this purely from a technical analysis standpoint, and I look at the liquidation heat map, $70,000, $75,000 looks like if we get it, it's a bottom, and it would break that. We're not getting a low below, the time of an election.
Just want to address one comment from Take It Easy. It says, why not just call it what it is, a bear market? I feel very comfortable saying that the market is extremely bearish right now. It has been for a hot minute. I think the ultimate question that everyone genuinely wants to know, right, which if I had this crystal ball, I would be a wealthy person, is how long does it last? That's all. That's the the $1 trillion question for any period in the market cycle, whatever the cycle looks like now, whatever Frankenstein cycle we're in the middle of. So I think to Will's point, you could see it just continue to slide and crater now in the short term. The whole thing could turn around in a couple months. The whole thing could turn around next week. Literally nobody knows. Or the whole thing could languish until next year. It's really, truly impossible to say. There's way too many things that have been broken or jeopardized since then. This has never once in my entire career here been my strong suit, fortune telling. But I think to your point, Will, something interesting that if I put the tinfoil hat on just for a second, I promise, just a second. If this is one of the things that could waver confidence in an administration, of course, it stands to reason that if they wanted to retain power, then something would happen manipulatively, right? Because we've seen significant market manipulation ever since this whole circus started. It wouldn't be weird to see it again. At this point, though, that feels like so much would be needed to like have a quick and speedy recovery. And I also wouldn't trust it, right? Because we've seen pumps and rallies over the past however many months. And this is why I'm so aggressively screaming at everybody to please take a profit, because like when it turns around, nothing at all says it's going to turn around for a long time. And even if it was like set up to turn around for a long time, some crazy shit's going to happen in 6 minutes that's going to freak everybody out again. So like if you're buying stuff now, please, for the love of God, pay yourself if you get a swing up. Like, don't be afraid to skim some of them profits, because I don't think it would last. I think there's nothing that I've seen in the last couple months that says that any kind of like turnaround rally would be sustainable. I just don't see it.
Well, I mean, if you also look at it, like we're getting more firings too, so less people have jobs, which means less people have money. But also, we're getting into the holiday seasons where people spend more money because gifts and dinners and all that kind of stuff. And as the White Whale pointed out from his time in the e-commerce world, like people don't recover from that spending of the holidays until like I think it was March at the earliest, and it isn't until like May or April when they've recovered a bit. So we're entering a period where people tend to have less money because they're spending it on the holidays. And also, if there is a bull market, people purposely take bad trades to wipe off what they owe in taxes from other winning trades. So like the market gets kind of funky near New Year's.
Well, and you see a sell-off regardless. Although I will say that the wash trade sell-off at the end of December would be pretty dependent on what the average cost basis would be for the largest amount of sellers. And if prices have already absolutely tanked, down to, sub $90,000 Bitcoin, then the wash sale dump at the end of the year might not be quite as, I would still expect something to happen just because price can always go lower. You can drop 90% and then drop another 90% and then drop another 90%. Like nothing says you can't.
What I will say is if you go to CoinGlass and pull up the liquidity heat map, and I can do that here. But there's not a lot of liquidity left in this market for Binance to try to liquidate. But it is more so to the downside. That's for sure. Here we go. This is the 6-month chart. We're also looking at Model 2 on the CoinGlass website. Model 2 shows you all leveraged positions of any size from 2x to 10x. All right, if we choose Model 1, it shows us a 10x and higher. I'm not showing that one because there's basically no liquidity on the chart at all to the downside. So it's not really giving us a good picture as to where the financial incentive is in the market. Model 2 is. So without further ado, there's a big pocket of money. It's billions of dollars for the exchanges, not just for Binance, all the way down to $84,800, $8,809. But essentially 85K. That's where the biggest financial incentive is in the market for Binance and other centralized exchanges. But you can see that this liquidation zone goes all the way down to about $71,000 before all of it is cleared. All of the bearish financial incentive in the market is gone. And then you're pretty much just left with liquidity levels higher up at this point. Obviously, as price goes down, there will be other positions further down that could get liquidated again, right? But it's not going to all pile up like this. So if Bitcoin does go down to $70,000 or really $80,000, that's where the financial incentive really starts to stop. $80,000 is where things start getting into, hey, this could really be a bottom kind of scenario here, and things could start whipping around. And that's what the CoinGlass liquidation heat map is showing us here for Bitcoin at the very least. If we also push symbol, I think it gives us even a more bearish picture here. Go back to the 6-month chart, make sure we're on Model 2. So we're not just looking at Binance now, we're looking at every centralized exchange. And it's pretty much the same picture. Pretty much once you get down to $80,000, the financial incentive to drive the market lower goes away. And once you get down to $72,000, there's basically nothing, no other financial incentive to drive the market lower. And then you'll start seeing market makers come in and try to drive the market higher to then liquidate these positions, higher up back at the all-time highs. However, that's probably not going to be a quick turnaround. If we come down to $70,000 or $80,000, it's probably going to be a longer turnaround. Like, is this a bear market? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Is this a bear market? Yeah, for sure it's a bear market. I just think it's going to be a much shorter one than what we're used to. We're used to bear markets lasting something like a year and a quarter, 9 months to 15 months or so. I think this one lasts, actually, let's see. Let me take a look at the chart here. Let's see. If the bear market started last month, October, when we hit the high, I bet this thing lasts like 5-6 months. It'll last, let's just say 4 to 6. Let's just say 4 to 6. I bet in December or January, we hit that $75,000, maybe even $70,000 range. and then it takes pretty much the spring to be like, okay, cool, like that's a bottom, and we've started to work our way higher.
I wonder if it would hold true that, how, so the last couple times that we've set an all-time high for Bitcoin, even when people were much more euphoric than they are now, of course, not to say that anybody is particularly euphoric right now, that all-time high was set like just barely, like just a smidge above there was no like super impressive. In fact, every single time was like, wait, is it? And then like on some platforms it is and some it isn't, and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if the inverse would hold as well. Wherein if we were to see some sort of like, estimated bottom, let's say for now it would be that presidential level, because that would be the next major historical trend to be broken if we lost that. Then you make a new low there, break that trend by just a smidge, and like that's where a ton of the buying would happen, right? Because then people could feel way more confident that at least at that point it's definitely going to go up higher from here, even if it goes lower first. And then the other thing I would point out is, even if Bitcoin goes to, let's call it 72 or whatever that low 70s area that you just highlighted was, that doesn't mean that there won't be like little upticks in between there. And like those are the times when it's worth it to be aggressive in taking profit. Like if you're buying something now and you get the chance to capitalize on it returning 10% to you or 5% to you or something like that, that's not a bad move. Like if that's the kind of trade that you're willing to take. So like for me, right, I have this pile of SOL and I have a pile of USDC. And right now I'm more heavily leaning into buying SOL with the USDC, because the USDC has been sitting here the whole time SOL was going up and kind of floating. That pile of USDC was just earning yield. Now it's out and it's waiting to deploy and buy SOL. And so I bought at, like 150 something. We got to move up to 170. I sold every single ounce of it that I bought at 150 something, at 170 something, all of it. So then the pile of USDC was expanded. Okay. Then we are like floating around there. That's going back into a yield farm. So that's just earning interest. Now it's back out again because we're sliding, and I bought more at 134, 135, something like that, and waiting to see if we go into the 120s, and I'll buy more there. But if in the meantime we go back to 150, I'm selling all of that 130 stuff, all of it, because then I'll have more USDC. And then if we do go below 120, I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Like, so that's the pattern. And it doesn't require any analysis for me to do that. If it works out, cool. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, whatever. I'm sitting on two assets, USDC and SOL, that I can earn yield on both regardless, right? So like if I got stuck with more SOL than I necessarily wanted to, and it starts to languish, let's say that it just floats right here at like 130 to 140, just sits here for the next 2 or 3 months. Possible. I would just park it and earn yield. That would be an excellent time to get deeper with something like Goodnow, right? I would sit there, I would have all this SOL, I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I don't really want to sell it. I don't feel necessarily like I want to be piling in more and more and more to it, because I think we could go lower. Might as well stake it. Might as well liquid stake it. Might as well take that and try to learn about looping and just, blow up the amount of yield that I can earn in the meantime, because at the end of that, I'm just going to have more of the asset that I believed in. So the profits will be much nicer when markets do turn around, even if that's 6 months from now, like you said, or even if it's a year from now. Same thing.
Yeah, no. You don't need to learn technical analysis to trade markets. You just need to sell when it's up.
Yes.
And make sure you don't go all in, so you have some stable coins to then continue to buy into dips. You just have to have a well-practiced sell trigger button. And that's one of the last things that we develop all the time.
For sure. No, it took it. I say it now and it sounds as if I'm like, well, this is it. No, like I screwed it up for so long, where every single time it would crash and be like, oh, here's the dip. It's the dips are for buying. Hoorah. And I get in there and I buy it. And then it turns around and it goes up like 15, 20%. And I'm like, okay, well, it's going to keep going. No, turns around and crashes even lower. I'm like, okay, well, I should have done that, but I didn't. I'll do it next time. Next time rolls around. Same thing. Okay, well, no, next time. No, still, again, did that for years. It's not easy, but I'll keep saying it because all it takes is doing it successfully once, and all of a sudden it just clicks in your head. That's what it was for me. I finally just did it. One time I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe it is going to continue to go higher. Who cares? I would rather make something than just lose more, even if someone else makes more than me. And then I sold it, and then it crashed right after it. I was like, oh my God, look at this. That's what that feels like. And then it just became so much easier to hit that sell every single time, because it was always measured, right? Like, it doesn't have to be 100% of your position. It shouldn't be. If the position that you're holding is in an asset that you believe in long term, it shouldn't be the whole thing. But a little bit. I think the rule that I've been tossing around is 25% and 50%. When we're rising at a time like this, when I feel overall bearish and a little bit sketched out, I'm selling half of a position. You can just always cut whatever you have left in half again and again and again. And then that goes into the stablecoin pile. And then you start to crash again. And then with 25% of that stablecoin pile, I'm buying on every dip. You can always lop off a quarter, no matter what the amount is. So I'm buying with a quarter, selling half, and just go back and forth, back and forth. And I always end up then with more of my returns going into the stablecoin, which all just go, honestly, at this point, they all go right to the carrot and start earning interest, which, according to the official chief vegetable officer of the Rise Up Morning Show, Bearded, we are at 6.83% this morning. Still better than, it's the lowest I've ever seen it, and it's still orders of magnitude better than any savings account.
Yes. I'll also say I was just doing some quick little TA on Sol. I would have a hard time seeing Solana fall below. It's like 104 to about $98. That's what I'm looking at right here. Yeah, $98 to $104 is where I start feeling potentially good about a Solana potential bottom. Just FYI, keep that number range in your back of your head. We'll see how good it ends up being as we move forward. But I'll be buying it. Right now I'm buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana every day with just a little bit of money. And I feel like I should just have that be Bitcoin. And then if things fall further, turn that back on for Ethereum and Solana. And I feel like I want to buy more. The thing that I think is the biggest opportunity is because of just how badly it's crashed, because it is just a meme coin still, even though it has a great business around it, is Pengu.
Well,
I think I would still like to see it fall maybe even another, let's see, where is it at currently?
But it's worth highlighting. It's worth highlighting that in that instance, anything that you're looking at purchasing right now needs to be something that you have a genuine belief in the future in. That's why
the only thing right now that's my daily buys are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Like your conviction can be built on a whole number of different things, right? Like, nothing says that there's a wrong way to build conviction, except if what you do instead of building conviction for yourself is borrowing it from somebody else. So if the only thing you've seen is one of us, any other creator, any influencer, anybody, any guru, whatever, if what you're doing is just taking their opinion and parroting it, and you're like, yep, that's my opinion now too, that's the one way that I would say you can't build a conviction. You have to have something. You have to be able to sit down and articulate to somebody who asks you, who doesn't know, why it is that you believe in this. And it can't just be because so-and-so said so. Yeah,
make sure that, I think a good general rule of thumb, given the time of year it is if you're asked why you're buying this at the Thanksgiving table and you realize the answer you're about to give is about to embarrass you in front of your entire family, maybe you shouldn't be dollar cost averaging into that one.
So there was a question from Eddie, just talking about the idea of walking positions down, and we've talked about this before too. So through swing trading, you can rescue an underwater position. Okay, it's possible. It takes discipline. It takes time. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and of course, it's not a guarantee. But the way that I've always looked at it, especially when I've been trying to do it myself, is that if the position I'm rescuing is already underwater and I am like losing some conviction in it or whatever, one, I have to make the decision, is this even worth trying to save? Because saving it involves buying more of that asset. So if it's not an asset you believe in, I would remind you that percentages are percentages, and you can build the same percentage recovery in a different asset. So let's say that you purchased what's one that lots of people have lost conviction in recently, like Cardano, right? It was huge.
Recently.
Well, you know what I mean. Sorry, recently is in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Was huge, had a tremendous amount of hype and conviction and whatever, and it ripped all the way from a couple pennies to $3 and change. And I remember that was a wild run. And it's like, it seems crazy to think that it could ever even remotely get back there. So conviction shattered. If you had an underwater Cardano position, I would not say that the best way to rescue that lost percentage of an investment is to just buy more Cardano and try to rescue the position. If you made 100% back on a different asset versus making 100% back on Cardano, it's the same 100%, right? Same profit. And it doesn't involve you buying something that you don't like. So if you're sitting there looking at like, man, I really don't like this thing anymore. Man, I've lost faith in it for this reason, whatever. You don't have to buy that thing anymore. That's why I stick with Solana, because even as we lose price, I'm constantly being fed more and more reasons to be bullish on it long term. So the position rescue when something's underwater looks kind of like this, and you can stretch this out, but this is like a very abbreviated little tiny nutshell version. Buy it at 200, it falls to 150. Okay, so you're down, was that 25? You're down 25% on your overall investment. You could then at that point make a decision. Okay, do I think it's going lower? Do I think it's going back up? If it's going back up, cool, whatever, it recovers by itself. But you could take matters into your own hands and you could buy some more at 150. Now your average price is lower. If from that 150 point, we don't recover to 200, but we do recover to 165, cool, great. Let's sell a big chunk of it at 165. Overall, I'm still selling below 200, probably below my cost basis, even with the purchase at 150. But it starts to walk down. It starts to correct itself. And then you just do that forever. Even if what's happening is price is just going down, little up, down more, little up, down more, little up. Eventually that position will be in profit again because of the measured buying on crashes and actually selling on spikes, even if that spike doesn't recover to the original spot. It's risky. It adds a whole new level of like the way that you would be managing that position. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's easy to screw up, but that is one methodology.
You know what coin just got back on my radar screen again to maybe start dollar cost averaging into for the first time in years?
Oh, years? I was going to say, I don't know. I do have a guess because it's been very interesting to me lately. And actually, I've made some profits swinging it around too. But no, this would be much more recent than years.
What coin are you thinking?
Arrow is still swinging like crazy.
It is still swinging like crazy. But no, I'm talking about Uniswap.
Okay.
Did you see the news? You didn't see the news?
Enlighten me.
The reason why it pumped like 50% a number of days ago is because, and I need to get all the details again, but they are potentially voting on adding revenue sharing to the Uniswap token. So like buybacks and like making it not just a governance tool, a token. And Uniswap makes so much money. They make so much money. So if you actually put that kind of tokenomics on Uniswap's token, that's potentially just like a rocket fuel kind of hype situation, like Hyperliquid kind of a token, except even more so because I think Uniswap makes more money than Hyperliquid does. I have to double check that. But it happened when I was in Japan. I got notifications like Uniswap's up like 50%, and I was like, "What the fuck's going on with Uniswap?" Then I hopped on Twitter and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I need to take a look at this entire thing that they're potentially voting on over at Uniswap that could really change the tokenomics of that, which would really make it an interesting long-term buy because it's the decentralized exchange and it makes so much money that if they took that revenue and started putting it into buying supply, that would be a crazy level of tokenomics. But again, I need to get all the details.
Yeah, so let's see here. Oh my God. Yeah, it's not even close, dude. So fees generated by Uniswap annualized, you're looking at north of $1.25 billion. Compared to,
let me see if I can find this. Yeah.
Compared to Hyperliquid. Let's see. Where's my compared to Hype? fees and revenue. Actually, they're closer than I thought.
Oh, really?
So annualized fees for Hyperliquid, which granted are a lot fresher. So this annualization isn't quite as meaningful as Uniswap's annualization, just because there's a lot more data that goes into how long Uniswap's been making money compared to how long Hyperliquid's been making money. But they're almost neck and neck. Right around $1.25 billion. However, the 24-hour fees for Hyperliquid are higher, but Uniswap has a much longer track record of making that money. So let's see. Revenue. Okay, so revenue. The annualized revenue on Hyperliquid is 1.1 billion if they were able to hold current trend, which, to be very honest, it feels like they probably have a decent shot at doing. They are kind of pretty successful. And then Uniswap, interestingly, doesn't have their revenue published.
Interesting.
I would have to.
I got the info on it. So here's what's being proposed. Okay. This was submitted on November 11th. Turn on the fee switch in the Uniswap protocol so that a portion of trading fees gets routed to a uni burn mechanism. Redirect sequencer fees from Uniswap's layer 2 into this uni burn. Introduce protocol fee discount auctions that allow users to bid to reduce their swap fees. The bids go to burning uni. A retroactive burn. Proposal suggests burning 100 million uni from the treasury, which, by the way, does nothing to the price of the token, by the way. It's just Uniswap with their own treasury of uni, then just saying we're going to get rid of like 100 million of it. That's a marketing ploy. That's absolute bullshit. Anyway, what they estimate they would have burned if the fee switch had been turned on from launch is 100 million uni, which at current price is almost $1 billion worth of uni that would be burned from their treasury. That's crazy. That's almost $800,000. Or sorry, $800 million, excuse me. Oh, dear God. Organizational change. Merge the roles of Uniswap Labs and Uniswap Foundation. Align incentives, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, pumps 40% off that news immediately. So these deflationary mechanisms, yada, yada, yada. So for the when, so the proposal was submitted on November 11th, and the governance process is expected to take around 22 days. 7 days for community feedback, 5 days for a snapshot vote, 10 days for on-chain voting and execution phase. So you're looking for this to maybe be a change on Uniswap, let's say in November 11th, so like the middle of December, early half of December. One source estimates, oh no, hey, this is going to take longer. The full introduction of the model, so the voting would be finished. The full introduction of the model could be completed as early as Q1 2026 if everything goes smoothly. So the proposal is voted on, and then they have to go through and do the work of actually making that change.
Gotcha.
This vote could fail, but I don't see who's going to say no to it.
Yeah, seems unlikely. Usually votes like this go through.
Yeah, I should buy Uniswap.
It's an interesting. I mean,
not financial advice.
they are a beat. I've been chasing them for a hot minute. I would love to work with them. Also, because I need another pink. I need more pink merch.
You need more pink merch.
Didn't they have onesies?
Wait, they made fun of me on TikTok.
They did.
They did make fun of me.
Yeah, their TikTok strategy leaves something to be desired. But you know what? They did make fun of you that one time.
They did. That's fine. I still love them. They're still dope. But yeah, so interesting. Very cool.
So lots of comments here. I'm just sifting through. So Eddie's asking, why has Bitcoin dropped so much recently? Is it just shutdown stuff? And I mean, it's pretty safe to say there was a lot of different things all happening simultaneously that contributed to it. The shutdown certainly didn't help. But if you'll notice, it also didn't help at all when it ended. So I mean, what else would you put in that category of things that have contributed to the swift turnaround of everybody's sentiment? And I do want to point out, there was a comment that said, all this fear, this has to be a bottom. Typically, that's not a bad indicator. Like if everybody's saying the same thing, whether that's like toppy feeling or bottomy feeling, is usually a decent indicator that like something bad is about to happen or something amazing is about to happen, because everyone's like on the same page, which is just a great time to attack the masses with a short squeeze or a liquidation cascade or something. But I don't know. Right now, I feel like I actually don't know what the fear and greed index is at right now. I actually don't really feel super scared about it right now. I'm not seeing as much like raw fear or hopelessness. I'm seeing like a general consensus that the market's not being driven by anything fundamental. It's being driven by everything else in the world that's not good. I mean, because someone said recession is coming. I got spoiler alert. Much of the United States has been experiencing a recession for years, a very long time. Things have not felt great for the average consumer in years. So it's not coming. It's
gonna get worse.
Easily get worse. It can always get worse.
Always get worse. This is I always think of that Simpson movie quote. This is the worst day of my life. This is the worst day of your life. So far.
So far.
So far. Oh shoot, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, no. So it's to the question of like, why is Bitcoin falling so much now? It's the culmination of a lot of things, right? We've had several years of inflation just like slowly eating away at the disposable income that people have. But people still had plenty of disposable income at the beginning of this year. It was a very much so a retail-led market, as retail was flooding money into the ETFs while institutional investors were selling all the way back in January, which, hey, turns out they were kind of right. Turns out those institutional investors were kind of right. And this was kind of like a melt-up rally. So you also have unemployment starting to tick up over the past number of months or so. You won't see it in the unemployment numbers, but we've seen, very large layoffs be announced by very large companies across the board that are all being enacted up until the end of this year. But like it's that slow cut of inflation. Just like groceries have just gotten way more expensive. And this isn't a Trump thing, right? This started in the Biden era too. But inflation's always that silent killer, right? Always has been. Doesn't matter who the politics are. And now people are starting to lose their jobs, so they have less money. Tariffs are really hurting profit margins of companies, and that's leading to more people getting fired. Also, you have that on top of there. You also have, hang on one second, labor. There's a labor shortage as well. I know you're like, oh, unemployment's going up. How's there a labor shortage? There's a lot of people to work it. Well, it's because you've deported a lot of folks, and so because of that, we have like a lot of like the lower economic tier jobs. So like, like picking vegetables and fruits and, day labor type jobs and all that kind of stuff. There's not enough of them. And so the amount of supply of produce is actually on the decrease. You can look all this up too. And so if supply is decreased, price also goes up, right? So that's another thing that's added here. But at the end of the day, all of this means all of these things lead to people have less money to invest, so they don't. People are losing their jobs, so they sell their assets. Also, on top of that, take away all of these macroeconomic impacts and just look at the crypto market. The crypto market, heavily leveraged. It's also so too is the stock market. So when things fall, they fall fast. When things rise, they rise fast, typically, right? With lags here and there. But once you start liquidating those levels to the upper downside, it happens super quickly. And people will never stop using leverage. And so you're always going to have these massive, very fast swings in markets. So that to me is the reason. It's just the weight of this like really hard economic time for folks that has just been slowly, ever so slowly getting worse over the past like really 4 years since the end of COVID. And now on top of that, you just have, this is a very leveraged market. So when it goes down fast. When it goes up fast.
Yeah, true. I was just going to say too, on that subject, I didn't even think about this before, but the tariff stuff. So if you had this tariff system proposed as a method to bring down prices and help with affordability, and that was the battle cry for the entire year, and then all of a sudden you had two things happen in very swift succession. One, this is from Mr. Tariff himself, says, I need you guys to stop whining about affordability because it's really good and everything is cheap, and shut up. I don't want to hear about affordability anymore. And then like an hour later to be like, Republicans need to talk about affordability more, and then to reverse position on tariffs and start canceling them to help with affordability, 100% contradicting the messaging for the entire thing. That doesn't inform people of a new method. It doesn't inform people of a change. It just completely shatters confidence in the original message, which then means you're now into cried wolf territory, meaning nothing else you say after this matters, and confidence starts to get shattered.
Yeah.
So at that point now, you just have like two polar opposite methods to achieve affordability, all being touted as the way to do it, and neither one having worked. So,
yeah. Well, Michael Saylor just bought $800 million worth of Bitcoin.
in Saylor we trust.
In Saylor we trust.
Until he inevitably dooms us all.
Yeah, until he dooms us all. Oh wow, Bitcoin's collapsing right now. But what was I gonna say too is
sorry about that, guys.
Shoot, something about tariffs. What was it? Oh yeah. If you want the market to immediately rebound, one of two things needs to happen. The United States needs to announce that they're selling gold to officially buy Bitcoin, or the Supreme Court, which very well might likely happen. The Supreme Court will throw out Trump's tariffs, and then you'd see the market boom.
And my sneaking suspicion is that that is looking likely to the people inside the administration. If not, they would not be trying to get ahead of it by canceling their own tariffs.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I saw that happen too, and I was like, it looks like they're starting to hear some words that the Supreme Court might actually strike down all of Trump's tariffs. The Supreme Court, however, cannot strike down the tariffs that Trump put in place on aluminum and steel, because those are actually being used in the way that tariffs are supposed to be used, which is like very strategic and stuff. But the wide sweeping ones, those are the ones that the Supreme Court can potentially get rid of.
It's very worth noting that tariffs are a time-honored tradition of they've been used for a very long time. This is nothing about this is new. They've always been in place.
Aren't bad either. They're not bad. They are a tool in your tool belt.
But there's a big difference between taking a hammer and walking onto your porch and hammering down those 3 nails that are sticking up that people keep catching socks on or stepping on, versus starting to smash everything around you with the hammer, throwing it through a window, and then just hitting everything. And so like the Supreme Court's not saying you need to destroy your hammer. It's you need to stop smashing all of the windows with the hammer and focus on the nails. That's the decision. So it's not like I know that we've completely lost the ability to recognize nuance, but that's the nuance. That tariffs are not inherently bad, but you can use them incorrectly. And that's what we're talking about right now.
Do you know when the Supreme Court is likely to make a decision on that?
No. Dude, that whole timeline thing has been completely thrown out the window too, because they've been ramming decisions through on some stuff, and they've been just like completely languishing other decisions way longer than the whole like systematic flow of government has been disrupted. So I have no idea. I have no idea. Oral
arguments were scheduled for November 5th. Obviously that date has passed, but the government was shut down. A decision could come within a few months after November 2025. So potentially the end of this year or early 2026. Oh, wait, what? The general expectation is by June 2026 when SCOTUS term ends. Oh, God. That'd be such a long wait. Are you kidding me? That'd be such a long, painful wait.
I think too about how many crazy things are going to happen between then and now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you've got an admin in free fall right now. I mean, it's a mad scramble. We have all sorts of shit, market wrecking things happening on a regular basis. It's amazing that we have any semblance of structure whatsoever, to be very honest with you.
Well, in the meantime, I'll keep buying Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin.
Well, what's interesting is that even in a world where like we were kind of talking about with the only piece of crypto legislation we've actually seen is Genius, and the only thing that it really does is empower corporations to launch their own stablecoins by making a tremendous amount of money that they don't really have to share with anybody. In that world, the winner is still like integral blockchain infrastructure, like the networks themselves, the chains themselves that end up getting used to facilitate all of these things, at least until we see like a fully privatized world there, which I don't know. I used to think was a lot more likely, and now I'm starting to think like maybe it's not worth it, because you're going to make so much freaking money with the asset itself. If the goal is not like, hoarding your own blockchain, whatever, but to capitalize on the fact that it has other attention for other things and just sort of like skim with that, and then the focus is the treasury bills. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
I unfortunately need to go retrieve a child and go to the orthodontist. But Will, it's great to have you back. It's wonderful to be back and see everyone. It's a great start to a horrifying week in the markets, but you know what? Where there's horrifying market activity, there's usually an opportunity of some sort. And so that's what I'm personally watching for. Will, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, guys, just if you're dollar cost averaging into things, don't just do it into a position that's down because you're like, it's down, so I want to make sure it's something that if it's down, it's something that you also believe in, like long term for something. Like that's the coin that you should be, if you're going to dollar cost averaging into, not just a position that's down. Otherwise, maybe potentially think about taking that position that's down, putting it in stables, taking a look at the market and trying to find something that you do have long-term conviction in that can recover from a bear market. That's what I'll say. The other thing that I'll just want to mention is throughout all of this, the Solana ETF has still not had a day of outflows.
Thank you. I was going to ask you about that because we also saw the XRP ETF, or the spot one, go live too, and it also I understand had a relatively decent start. Yet no impact on price whatsoever. Although it is so interesting to me that Solana is lagging by like a little bit. Have you noticed that? I would be really curious if you guys could dig into that on Market Watch tonight, or assuming that it's happening.
Yeah,
a little bit. When everything crashes, Solana like lingers at the same level that it's at. It does the same thing when everything pumps, like it's kind of behind everything. But I've been sort of building like a mini trade thesis that I might take an attempt on at some point to do something with, like, watching the whole market go down like this, watch Sol still sit at that 139 that it was when I woke up, even though everything else lost a little bit, and then like quick short, or the inverse. I don't know. Like I might screw it up and get hosed, but it would be a fun experiment.
It'd be a fun experiment. Do it with a small amount of money and give it a whirl.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But so far to date, the Solana ETFs have brought in $382 million. Isn't anything crazy, but hey, it's a much better start than Ethereum had out the gates.
Yeah, I was gonna say that comparatively has been pretty good. I mean, too, like it kind of makes sense. Like we saw it at 292 not that long ago, and nothing fundamentally about the ecosystem or the chain has changed. They're still crushing it on the awareness and the marketing and the usability and the users using. But price has been hosed. It has a long history of price getting hosed. I don't think we'll ever be so fortunate as to see something earth-shattering send it all the way back down to, Hades' living room like it was post FTX. But a girl can dream.
A girl can dream. But I'll see everybody tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for about an hour or so of Market Watch. I'm going to be probably a little dead to the world. I'm going to have to throw a nap in.
Doug, you're driving. And I'm just on you.
I'm just going to be a zombie in the backseat. But hey, he did a great job. I saw him for a little bit.
Of course. Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah.
Doug, make a note. I would be very curious to see some sort of like comparative analysis of Sol and the rest of the market, just because I think it's kind of interesting. And I don't know that much about it. Maybe I'm like way behind the curve on it, but it's something I've been noticing lately. On that note, Will, it's great to have you back. Evan is still heavy in Dev Connect. He will be down there for another little minute. He'll be there for like another week or so, but he will be with us pretty much every episode this week. Missed today, but he'll be back tomorrow morning and Wednesday and Thursday, unless something crazy happens. But he's got some pretty cool updates from the ground there. The biggest takeaway that I got from what he sent me this morning was that it's so electrifying to be like in the heart of the Ethereum ecosystem like that, and getting to see and hear from all of the people who don't care that everything else is falling to shit with all the corporate misuse of our tech and all this kind of stuff, but still humming and buzzing along, and he said it's very energizing to be there. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm also excited to get an energized Evan.
Absolutely.
He's gonna be firing on all cylinders.
Thank you to everyone for hanging out today. If you would like more and you had a question that you didn't get answered, I saw there was a lot of comments and I unfortunately did not get to them all. I am sorry. Please consider joining the completely free to join community Rise Up. Wow. It would help if I knew my own website. Hey, community.rumshq.com. Totally free to join. It's on a platform called Circle. Just because Discord was getting way too sketchy, too many scams. So we've migrated to Circle. Super easy to use. If you need any help, let us know. And then, of course, thank you to our partners and our sponsors of the show. We have Polygon. We have the Goodnow team. We have Unlock Protocol. Of course, the White Whale and the official cold wallet sponsor of the Rise Up Morning Show, Arculus. If you guys want to get a little bit deeper, I think my next big focus is really leaning into a little more of the DeFi stuff. And I'm going to use Goodnow as a lot of examples for that. So if you're interested in learning how to get better at DeFi, stick around, ask questions, think of some stuff that you'd like to learn. Take a look at Goodnow as a platform. That's JITO. And some of the options there. And we're going to go all into depth on them. I'm actually going to run office hours this week. So shout out there. Keep an eye out for that. I'll announce the time today. And then, and that's going to be my focus. So bring some soul, bring a wallet, and we're going to hit the ground running with all that stuff. Anyway, we will see you tonight for Market Watch and tomorrow for the next episode of Rise Up Morning Show. Same time, same place. And until then, my friends, rise up.
Bye-bye.